Welcome back to Strictly Casual, everybody. We are here live at Wondercon with Aaron Leplante, who
Hi,
is
everybody.
voice actor in Resident Evil Village and also, most notably, recently in Primal as Spear, which is super exciting. Aaron just got done hosting the panel. What was it called? Music?
Behind the music.
Behind the music.
Hopefully VH1 doesn't find out about it.
Right? We'll figure it out. Okay, so my first question for you is, when you approach a voice acting role, how is it different going from performance capture in a video game to voiceover in an animated television show?
You know, it's funny. Voiceover in an animated television show is really solitary, and there's something about being in a booth by yourself, and you're not wearing a costume, and usually there's not another actor there. I mean, you hear these stories about Animaniacs and all these amazing voice actors working in the same room together, and I guess to a degree it can still be kind of like that. Most of my career has been really solitary. So when you do motion capture, which I've only done, I mean, for Resident Evil, the first round I wasn't even involved with it because the Duke doesn't really move around that much. So, but then when they did the DLC, I was able to do it, and it just felt like I was back in college, you know, playing like theater games and stuff, or even being a little kid on a playground where it's like you're looking at this just sort of blank room, but you have to imagine it as some kind of a castle or something like that, and it gives you the opportunity to go back and use your imagination like a kid again.
Is it distracting having all the performance capture points on you?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Just because, I mean, you're always like recently I did a thing. This is interesting. I'm not going to tell you what game it's for because I can't.
Big secret.
But they're but they're doing this a lot where they're they're redoing the animation for classic video games. And a lot of times they want to keep the voiceover performance because that voiceover performance is iconic. People, remember it, but they just want to make the animation of the characters better. So I usually have a beard. I almost never don't have a beard. But I had to shave it off because it was a camera rig on my head. And what I had to do was lip sync over the voiceover performance, and they used my face. So I go like,
Sure.
Yeah.
but I have to do it over. Yeah. So it's distracting, and that it's just it's not really well-worn territory for me. You know what I mean? Usually it's just I'm in a booth by myself. And a lot of times, because of the pandemic, it got everybody used to working on Zoom. And so a lot of times I'll just be in my closet at home talking to somebody who I just met. And in the moment, and it's interesting about video games because a lot of times, because they're so secretive, you walk in there and you have no idea what you're even doing. I mean, when I did Resident Evil, I got the part. And a couple weeks later, I was having breakfast with somebody who was on the project. And I said, "What's this game anyway?" And they said, "Resident Evil, dude." And I was like, "I didn't know that. Nobody told me that." And it's funny with Resident Evil Village, when you show up and you have this intention of giving a specific performance, but then in the moment it can change. For instance, the Duke's voice originally, when I auditioned for it, this is what it sounded like. "I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters." It was like an Eastern European accent, really grovelly. And I got the part. So obviously when I went in there to record it, I started off by, "I've been waiting for you." And they're like, no, don't, not Eastern European. I said, okay, fine. "I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winter." No, it's not really that gravelly. In fact, actually, it's a little bit more sort of like higher, lilting, kind of like having a British accent without having a British accent. "I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters. Anyone has heard of the likes of you." And that's what it ended up being.
That's amazing.
But also, when you play the game, and I'm just going to tell a little secret here, if you notice it, when you're playing the game, when you're going through the menus, his voice kind of sounds differently. And it's because it was the first day of recording and we hadn't quite figured out what we wanted to do. So anyway,
So the voice evolves over time.
It does. And most voices are... four different voices. So like a lot of times you're building them in the room. So you look at a picture of a character, and if a character has a giant smile on their face in the picture, you do the smile, and then suddenly while you're doing it, something happens. So then you go like that, and then you go, okay, so if I'm going to do the smile, I'm going to make it gravelly. So you make it gravelly, but then you should make it kind of breathy, but then maybe you give it a British accent. And suddenly that's a unique voice, but it's four different components all in one voice.
Would you say you enjoy the process more of like, let's say you get concept art and you start from scratch, or would you enjoy more kind of fine tuning it while you're already in production? You have a groundwork, a base to work with?
I think I would always prefer getting to prepare, but generally you don't get a chance to prepare that much. Or you just, like I said, a lot of times you go in there and I haven't even seen a picture of the character. Or if I'm dubbing anime, I do a lot of that, do a lot of anime dubbing. And when I go in there and do that, you just kind of show up and go, this is what the character, okay, this is what he looks like, and you just come up with the voice in the moment. So I think, but if to answer your question, I would always prefer getting to prepare.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
My roommate's a huge fan of Bleach, and when I told him I might be talking to Aaron today, he was freaking out. So
Really?
Yeah,
See,
really
the funny thing about the anime stuff is that, I mean, it's incredible, but there's so much of it that a lot of times, like I'll just kind of be sitting around maybe like a dinner party somewhere and somebody, oh, hey, Aaron does voiceover, and somebody comes over and, you like anime? And they go, I love anime. I go, okay, well, I do Glitter Force Doki Doki. Have you ever heard of that one? It's like, no. I'm like, hey, I did Twin Star Exorcist. And there's so much of it that some people heard of it, some people haven't. Bleach, a lot of people. And Bleach is like a new thing for me. I'm not even really aware of where my characters fall sort of in the fandom for Bleach, because I play Ichibei Hayosube and then also Kensei Moguruma.
That's the character.
And the Great Elder.
Yeah.
I play the Great Elder, which is that giant, he looks like a giant Irish wolfhound, like a giant dog. And I hadn't even seen it, because sometimes too, I thought early on, before I was lucky enough to get to be an actor, I would always kind of dream about like, man, if I get to, seeing stuff in the theater, maybe seeing something on TV. But after a while, it's not that I've developed any kind of laziness. It's that I don't know where this stuff goes. Sorry if I swore. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. But I don't know where it's going to land. I don't know where it's going to be. And so I finally, the director, my buddy Ryan, he said, it's actually on Hulu. And so the other night, I just sat there by myself. My gal was out to dinner, and I just watched all 3 episodes. I was only in like 3 episodes, because I think I'm coming up. I think the characters are in it more, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I want to talk Primal for a little bit, because you talked a little bit about theater. I'm a theater kid, and I saw in an interview that you said that you would sing 90s hip-hop in an opera voice on the way to Cartoon Network, right?
Joanne over there, who's we've got Joanne Higginbottom here. She was the composer for Primal. I just told her that. I actually just revealed that to her. And I think it's because vocal warm-ups are really important, but sometimes, I kind of get distracted, especially when I'm driving, so I need to do some kind of silly little thing that amuses me enough to keep doing the warm-ups. So I would sing 90s... just hit the east side of the LBC on a mission trying to find Mr. Warren G. And just do it the whole time there, and then and then I do the voice, and then I sing on the way home, because great voice actor Charlie Adler said that. He said he sings on the way and sings on the way home. So that's kind of it's really just a silly vocal warm up that keeps my attention enough to do it while I'm driving to the studio.
That's great. Yeah. Are there any exercises or techniques, or maybe even a favorite of your performances that you pull from, that you'd be surprised fans would hear that you pull for the newer stuff?
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Are there any acting theater exercises or past performances of maybe a certain key or voice that you pull from that?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting. Not so much like in terms of. It's funny. I think every voice actor has sort of a toolkit of voices that they kind of go to, especially when you're auditioning for stuff. Because, if I get like a dad character that comes through, and because there's a lot of dad characters, and this is kind of my dad voice. Like, what are you guys talking about? You know what I mean? Like, that's like a really sort of beleaguered dad. And I've used that for a lot of, you know what I mean? So I think that I have drawn from past performances in that sense. And if you track somebody's, like a voiceover actor who does a lot of anime specifically, you will see that, they only have one voice, even though they can do a lot of voices. There's a lot of anime characters that sound like this. There's probably a bunch of them out there. You know what I mean? And they weren't even me doing them. It's just that is an anime voice. You know what I mean?
Wow. I don't know. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank
that
you
was
very
awesome.
much.
That was
Awesome
Appreciate
questions. You guys are awesome.
Thank you so much.
If you ever
Appreciate
if you ever want to do a longer interview, just hit me up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Our audience is big on games as well as on movies and TV.
Great.
So something that jumps into more Resident Evil stuff is
I love Resident Evil.
Yeah, so I don't have any socials other than Instagram. So hit me up on Instagram, and we can do a Zoom or something. Are you guys based out of here?
Yes, we are.
Okay, cool. So if you're in person, whatever the hell, because I love talking about this stuff. I'm a fan too.
Yeah.
And I find that what we're doing now is kind of like it's like a cycle. It's a paying it forward. You know what I mean? Like where you get to actually talk to people who are fans of something. You know what I mean? Because
exactly.
I can't help but think that maybe 20 years from now, there's going to be some young person who makes some incredible fucking animated show, and they're going to say, "What are your influences?" And they're going to say Primal. I'm going to be like, "Yeah,
Like, I'm part of that. Yeah.